Welcome back. Got a blue WRX behind me. And if you followed around long enough, you might remember that I threw a motor in this car for a friend of mine. He is now deciding to use it as a winter car, so I'm gonna go through a few things on it, redo the suspension on it. Not redo the suspension, but reset it up, re-preload his coilovers and get the car to a suitable ride height. It's also having a random running issue. It's shutting down on him and seems voltage related. Hopefully, maybe a bad alternator, bad ground, something along those lines. It just keeps cutting out and coming back in. So, gonna look into that, see what we can figure out, and go from there with it. But overall, we're gonna get this thing right for him and make sure he can enjoy it. So, that's my plan. Hopefully, only take a couple days, I'm hoping. So, wish me luck. I'm probably not going to go too in depth with it, at least on my diag. I find it really hard to film diag related content, so I'm just going to make updates on this as I go through it and what I find, and yeah, just see what happens with it. So, well, just doing quick visual inspections. Everything's checking out alright, and I found when I wanted to check battery voltage, this is our main power to our fuse panel. It is nice and loose, so maybe that's giving a faulty reading to our fuse box and shutting the car on and off. So I'm going to tighten that up. I might honestly replace that terminal. I don't really like the style that he went with this. It's meant to have a cable crimped on it, and instead he has lugs on the ends of those, which not a big deal, but I don't know. I'm OCD and can always look better, so might swap that to a different terminal or see if I have another factory cable laying around. But gonna keep checking over, and maybe that'll be really easy and we can move into playing with suspension here real soon. Getting back to work on my buddy's WRX. Got the electrical hopefully figured out on it. Not really gonna truly know until we go for a test drive, but headlights aren't flickering anymore, so I think we got that solved. So it's time to set up the suspension. We're going to go through, re-preload the coilovers and set his ride height maybe, and swap over some different tires. And yeah, fix his awful camber in the rear, because it's awful, even though he thinks it looks good, but he shouldn't think it looks good. So here's what we got going on. You can see the ridiculous camber in the rear. The front's not too bad, but gonna get that taken care of, sorted out here, get this thing looking good. So gonna be putting it on these rims and tires, get them some snow tires for the winter, and yeah, this thing should be an absolute ripper afterwards. So time to get her jacked up and start loosening up and redoing some coilovers. Alrighty, wheels are off, coilovers are all loosened off, got the springs even loosened up, and everything came apart a lot better than I thought. Well, loosened up, not really taken apart, but all the collars for the coilovers came apart a lot better than I thought. I sprayed all the dirt out of them with air before I started and lubed them up as I went around. But this car, yeah, it's just got cheap race lands on it, but they came on the car, so they work. I have race lands on my car too, so they definitely work. You just gotta take some time and actually setting them up. But I will say it's no wonder this thing rode so badly, or had to have rode so badly. I know I've ridden it a few times, but I can't really remember. I know it was bouncy, and that's still gonna be there, but the rear coilovers had no preload to the spring. The fronts had a 1/2 inch, which isn't bad, and overall we're gonna change that. We're gonna put about 1 inch of preload in the rear, maybe an inch and a half in the front, see where that gets us. And yeah, either way it should be a lot better than no preload in the rear. So funny stuff, but might call it there for tonight. It's Friday night. Go inside and take it easy. Come back out here tomorrow and get this thing finished up so it can go home. Alright, jumping back on the blue WRX here. Got the coilovers and all that all loosened up last night, so those are all ready to go. This morning I'm going to play with starting. I'm going to get the camber pulled out of this and decide whether or not if we're going to roll the lip in this, because it surprisingly still has a lip. Starting to get a little bubble to it, but they're still really nice, and it's kind of pains me to even roll it, but we're going to see if we need to. Got ourselves good old cheap jitty fender roller, so we can hopefully take care of whatever we need to. But I'm gonna get the camber pulled out of it first and play with some ride height and go from there. I'm kind of hoping I don't have to, but I'm most likely gonna have to for how I want to set his car up. So see what happens here. Got the coilovers all preloaded. Gotta throw the tire on this side yet. Ready to go back on the ground then. And we're gonna start playing with ride height. Got the camber all pulled out of the rear, and oh, so much better. It was way too much camber. Thing had like 6 degrees in it. Pulled it out to about a degree, roughly 2 degrees. So see where it is. Gonna see where it lines up on the rear quarters and find out if we gotta roll those and go from there. So get this thing back on the ground. And just like that, we are back on the ground. I will say I definitely like these rims on here, but this car compared to my GC swallows these 17s, makes them look kind of small. It's also kind of monster trucking right now, and I'm not going to allow that. So we're going to bring that fender to wheel gap at least even. We're not going to tuck any tire or nothing, but we're going to bring that down even and give this thing a little bit of character to it. I ain't going to let my friend monster truck around in this thing. He might rub going in his driveway, but or scrape his bumper and stuff, but minor details. He already kind of messed up the bumper, so he claims it's going to be his beater. I want it to look nice, so, and it'll drive nice. That's my biggest goal. Get this thing to drive nice, but I definitely want it to leave here looking good, so. Time to get this thing lowered and start playing with the ride height. Alright, not fully sure where we left off yesterday, but car is fully on the ground with its current set ride height. Definitely not too bad. Took me, I was up and down a few more times, I know, after I stopped filming yesterday, just getting this rear end dialed in, but overall, pretty darn good. Probably gonna do a toe set in the front here and take this thing for a test drive and see how it feels, but overall, definitely looks darn good. Very happy with it. Hopefully he's going to be just as happy with it. Hopefully it rides way better than it did. Actually have preload in the rear of the coilovers and set to a decent height, so, and set level. They were not fully level before, so definitely quite the improvement now, I think. Alrighty, well, after quite a bit of a struggle, I was able to get the toe reset on this thing. I usually like just to set them on a set of rims to give yourself enough room to crawl around for measurements and adjustments. But, oh, that right hand side was really a bugger. Didn't want to adjust very well, so gonna get this thing back on the ground here and go for a test drive, see how it is. Hopefully, send this thing home today. Alright, well, back on the ground and figured I'm going to check these tire pressures before we actually get it out of here, so quick intermission for that. Alright, we are now good to go. Tire pressures are good, and good thing I did that because I still only had 3 lug nuts on each wheel from when I was pulling everything on and off for checking fitment, so we are now good to go. Time to fire this thing up and get her on out of here. Go for a little test drive and hopefully we don't got to bring her back in. Right now, actually, having these coilovers preloaded and whatnot, and set to a decent ride height. This thing's actually driving pretty nice. Kind of hard to tell with my toe set. Tape measure alignments for me kind of are a little back and forth, hit and miss, but slowly getting better at them. This one doesn't feel horrible, but we're also on a bumpy back road, so it's hard to tell. Miss a bug eye. It just drives so nice. Like, my GC is so much lighter that it can get loose so easily. These cars, it breaks loose, it's so casual. Especially having the boost, you can just easily feed throttle compared to drive with this clutch apparently. I'm too used to my aggressive clutch. Say the best part about being the one who built your friend's car, you don't gotta feel bad about beating on it. Not that I was really beating on it, but most of the time you can't drive your customers' cars like that. Ah, yes. I would say overall, very happy bug eye. Look at that. This thing looks nice. That is how a bug eye should look. Oh, I love getting to set cars up. This thing looks nice. Such a better ride height. I think these rims actually suit this thing pretty good. Gonna take some videos for some reels of it with my car. Ooh, how good is that? How good is that? Bug eye and a good old mean eye. Well, time to get some photos and some short videos for some reels of these two and get the bug eye sent home. Hope everybody enjoyed it being back for a little bit. I'm sure there will be more work I do to it. But stay tuned for more.